I was stabbed to death and went to heaven, where I was shown what happened to the shadows when God arrives. That day, God told me something that changed my life forever. Keep watching until the end to find out what he told me and what it means for you. If you like near-death experiences, consider subscribing. Also like the video so you can receive more interesting and eye-opening stories. Alright, let's get to the story. This is a story of an experience that has shaped most of my life. I believe God wants me to share this experience, as it will help others deal with issues in their lives, and it is for this reason you have received it. Use it as you will. Use my name if it is appropriate. As you will see later, the title, "It Will Be Okay," is the best way to sum up my experience, but it began several years before. I was saved when I was 10 years old, 1965, in Texas. As a senior in high school, I was about to begin the dreaded senior term paper in English class. I don't remember a specific event or conversation, but I was driven to choose the Book of Job and the Bible as my project. At first the teacher thought it was a little different, but gave me the go-ahead. After several weeks into the project, she called me in for a conference and then told me that her religion did not allow for the use of multiple translations of the Bible. It was this very aspect of my paper that made it possible. I was comparing the different translations to draw out the common threads. I explained to her that she had approved the project. I had spent several weeks of work that could not be replaced, and that this was not religion class, but English. Over her stern objections, I pressed forward. I had no idea why I felt so strongly, but I did. I studied hard and completed the paper and got an A+ on the project. Fast forward 3 years to 1976. The fateful night began with a couple of friends and I going to a local pool hall. They went for pool and beer, me for pool and a soft drink. I had gone through high school and 3 years of college without using any drugs or alcohol, and I was not going to start. The night started off calm. A few high school friends came in that I had not seen in years, and I was enjoying myself. We got ready to leave around 11:30 p.m. As we left the building, we encountered a guy beating his girlfriend. My friends got involved while I went to get my car. More people showed up and joined in, but they were all loyal to the other side. After circling my car several times, my friends ran off in different directions. It was now 4 against 1, and I was the one. One individual came and opened the driver's door. One came through the passenger door, and I was pulled from the vehicle. As I fell to the pavement, my head hit the ground and stunned me. I felt someone pull me up by my left arm and then someone punch me in the ribs, or so I thought. I found out later they had stabbed me. Then I found out about adrenaline. As I struggled to my feet, I tried to pull away. Someone had a hold on the back of my shirt, so I just ripped it off. Then just as soon as they all came, they were gone. I then realized I couldn't breathe. As I grabbed my side, I realized I was bleeding and air was coming out of the hole. I had been stabbed and it had punctured my lung. I held my hand over the hole and tried to catch a breath. A car pulled up. Someone opened the passenger door and yelled, "Get in, and I will take you to the hospital." I crawled in and we took off. I continued to hold my hand over the hole and my elbow over my hand. We sped through traffic lights and around slower-moving cars. And then, in front of Ridgeland Theater on Camp Bowie on the west side of Fort Worth, I began to fly. I could see the car below, and then I became aware of the light. It was the biggest, brightest, most all-encompassing light ever. I have come to realize that there is no shadow in his presence. I became aware of people, vaguely familiar people from my past, but they moved by at a distance just beyond recognition. I was being drawn to the light source as if in a tunnel. I still laugh inside when someone uses the phrase, "light at the end of the tunnel." It was then that he spoke. God said, "Do you want to live or die?" I was immediately made to understand that the answer was not to be taken lightly. I replied, "There are still some things I want to do. I want to live." God then said, "Don't worry, everything will be okay." Let me clarify a little here. The words I quoted are not similar to what I remember. They are not my version watered down for simplicity, and they are exactly the words he said, and exactly my reply. I now believe what I was experiencing is now called an out-of-body experience and a near-death experience. I have learned these terms over the years as I have tried to understand the experience. I mostly believe the now commonly used terms can be applied to what I went through. Now back to my experience. After I was told that, everything will be okay, I re-entered the car and became painfully aware of my body. I saw the exit sign for Summit St., which meant we were near the hospitals south of downtown Fort Worth. We entered the emergency entrance and the EMTs came and placed me on a cart. I was amazingly aware of my surrounding as they went to work. A tube was driven into my chest to inflate my lung, and nurses and doctors were everywhere. I remember a nurse come and ask me if I had Blue Cross Blue Shield, and my reply was, "No, but I have a hole in my side I wish they would plug." Someone said I was probably in shock, but I had just been told that everything would be okay. I believed it would. Just before going into surgery, I remember seeing my mom and dad. I went to the pool hall on Sunday night. I woke up in a hospital bed on Monday morning. Later, I found out it had been a week since I was admitted to the emergency room. I had lost a whole week. I would spend the next few years trying to make up that week. After another week, I would be allowed to go home to recover. A week later, I went back to my college classes to see what I had missed. It was about this time when my studies of the Book of Job became useful. Maybe my term paper wasn't a coincidence after all. I was studying architecture at the University of Arlington. The first challenge was the realization that I no longer could draw. I could barely sign my name. My ability or talent, one that I had developed over a period of about 10 years, was gone. My ability to move freely without pain, and my stamina was gone. I became determined to not only regain the talent I had enjoyed, but to finish this semester. I learned along the way that I could have whatever I was willing to give up the price for. If I wanted it bad enough, and the goal was pure, I could eventually achieve it. I lost the 2 jobs I had been working to put myself through school. They were drafting jobs and I couldn't draw. I had lost my source of income, and the hospital stay had taken what little funds I had available before. I lost my health. I lost my friends and lost family relationships through a period where the only thing that was important to me was to survive myself. But all along I kept those words that had been spoken to me by God. When He said, "Everything will be okay," He meant it, He promised it, He has stood behind it, and He always will. My life now is very different. I have been married since 1984 to the girl of my dreams. I have 2 beautiful daughters. I have 2 superb son-in-laws, and 7 spectacular grandkids. I now have some wisdom. I now know that God has tested me. I know He had me work with the Book of Job in high school, so I would have that knowledge when I needed it later. And He will continue to test me, and I will continue to accept the challenge. I don't need to be told what religion I belong to. I don't need to hear someone tell me that there is or is not a God. I was there. He spoke. I understood. I now also have a new group of allies. It is known as the Met Church. When I walk in the door, or just when I think about them, I get the best feeling of warmth and security. When I see the singers feel the music at the services, I can see that light again, especially in their eyes. And when I think about being needed or helping in God's work, it is them I want to help. I want to continue to help them reach out to those that need a light, those that need to be tested and to understand what achieving success over a test should feel like. I feel stronger every day, and although I still have some medical challenges to overcome that began back in 1976, I know they are just tests, and I know where to get the strength to overcome them and succeed. Some additional information to the story as it continues. After a brief strange illness in 2004, I went to my family doctor for a checkup and decided to get a physical. The symptoms, tiredness and a strange joint pain that moved around, did not seem to have a clear cause. After an EKG, I was sent to the ER with symptoms of a heart attack. After the enzyme test came back, it was clear that I did not have a heart attack, and I was referred to a cardiologist. He determined, after 2 months of testing, that I had an enlarged heart and a leaky valve. He also determined that it was hereditary, and after some research, I believe it was the cause of my father's heart problems, as well as my brother and his son's problems. My father died of a heart attack in 2002. I do not have the other risk factors, cholesterol, high blood pressure, stress, etc., that the others in my family do have. I was on 2 medications, one to soften the enlarged heart muscle and one to lower my blood pressure, although my pressure was normal before. Everything with my heart is under control. While going through these tests, there were some liver enzymes that were abnormally high. After 5 rounds of blood tests, it was determined on October 8, 2004, that I had hepatitis C, genotype 1, variant A. I contracted it during the operation to repair my injuries in 1976. Before 1992, the blood supply was not checked for hepatitis before it was stored for use. Since 1992, the blood supply is routinely checked for this and other viruses. Hepatitis C is a blood-borne virus for which there is no cure. It attacks the liver and can eventually destroy liver cells. My viral count as of in 2005 was 2,100,000 IUML. The desired count, of course, is 0. The side effects are the big challenge. I have been through the treatment and got rid of the virus. I will continue to monitor the viral load for the rest of my life. Fast forward to 2017. On January 20th, Baylor Hospital called and said they had found me a new liver. A 40-year-old had died and offered their organs to be donated. The liver was a match for me. That night, I underwent surgery to transplant the liver into my body. The surgery was very successful thanks to God stepping up in a big way. And thanks to the Met members, as well as several other churches and friends and family, praying continually for my health. God answered their prayers on my behalf. I will forever be thankful for their prayers and for God's help. I was scheduled to stay in the hospital for 3 weeks. After 5 days, the doctors determined that I was ready to go home. There has been very little pain and recovery has been fairly easy. I look forward to getting to serve again. I also heard God say, "I told you it would be okay." I firmly believe in what he said. I don't believe he changes his mind. I therefore will be okay. I believe this is a test. I also believe I will receive a passing grade on this one as well. This inspiring story has held us in its grip. But it would not be complete if we didn't know what exactly happens when both non-human creatures and people meet God face to face and his response to them. Watch this next to understand that.